What's up, guys, and welcome to Josh's Jovial Journey, where I escort you on the journey through becoming and maintaining the life of a drummer. And so, you may be asking yourself, so I want to drum, but where do I start? Well, this video here is to help you determine all those steps and to accomplish them at a fast, effective rate so that you can not only have fun, but you can also be awesome. And that's what everyone wants to be, awesome, like me, Joshua. So take a ride with me, sit back, relax, grab a Mountain Dew, diet of course, and enjoy Joshua's Jovial Journey. What's up, my new drummers? This series is going to go over 3 categories of things to put you on the right track to being an amazing drummer like me, Joshua Hughes. Now, the first thing we're going to learn is equipment. What kind of equipment do you need to get started? If you don't know what you're using, no one's going to respect you, and you deserve respect. After we learn about the equipment you're going to be wailing on, we're going to teach you some basic beats that'll get you through every AC/DC, Nickelback, and Enya song you could dream of. And guess what? I'm also going to teach you a hip-hop beat, because I'm not no square. Thirdly, what we're going to go over is how to look cool while drumming. Because let's face it, if you're not drawing attention to yourself, are you even a drummer? Being a drummer is about being obnoxious, loud, center of attention, and just being the coolest guy in the room. The guitar players will tell you otherwise, but we're not going to listen to them. Now let's get started with the equipment portion of this series. Yeah!
Look at this. Hey, come on, man. What? Cool things happen when you start the day with Kellogg's Pop-Tarts. So cool. They're hot, so hot. The hot taste of real fruit filling inside and cool frosting on the outside. Real hot, 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 hot. The cool, hot part of this complete breakfast. So cool. They're hot, so hot.
Thank you.
Okay, before we get started into the fun playing, first we have a few things we need to go over. If you're going to drum like a real professional, you need to know what you're using. First and foremost, every drummer needs a pair of drumsticks. These bad boys will help you rock it in no time. You'll be wowing all the girls or guys and just having a great time with these bad boys. You can drum on anything. You can drum on the carpet. You can drum on some drums. You can drum on your sister. Now, along with these bad boys, there are a few variations of drumsticks, or mallets as you could call them. Speaking of, I have some right here, mallets. These are for sissies. If you play in a symphonic orchestra or in some really avant-garde stuff, you'll be using these bad boys on some cymbals and some toms. But I don't really have any use for them. I just have them to look cool and look like I'm more professional than I am. But really, these are garbage. You probably shouldn't buy them. Next, we've got these things. These things are called brushes. Unlike what you use on your hair and in your mouth, these brushes are for your drum set. Okay? So if mom and dad are saying, "Quit playing loud, Johnny," well, these bad boys will come out and they won't really reduce the volume, but they won't be as harsh as well. Because you're still going to hit hard because rock and roll is where it's at. So these guys, really jazz, bossa nova, really sissy stuff like that. That's what these are going to be used for. If you're into that kind of thing, that's great. But for me, not so much. I have them again just to look more professional. But really, these have never even touched my drum set.
Hey, yo, check this out. What do you do when you're off on drugs? Beat it! Drug-free's the way to be.
Now after your sticks comes another important part, your cymbals. These are the most annoying part of your drum set as they are the loudest. This one right here in particular, this tiny guy, is called a splash cymbal. It doesn't really sound much like splashing in the water, but it has a little washy-wishy sound. It cuts through music real nice, and it's good for really accentuating different verse sections, I think. But this is the probably smallest line of cymbals you can get, and they just increase in size from there. The largest cymbal you'll get, if you're not going for a gong, it's going to be this kind of guy. This is what's called a ride cymbal. And it's called a ride cymbal because you take your drumstick and you just ride into it. It's nice for setting up grooves and really just setting the tone for what's going on in the music. And You know, along with the ride cymbal and the splash cymbal, there's crash cymbals, hi-hats, china cymbals, trash cymbals, stacks. There's a plethora of things, and it's really a big world to get into. A lot of people are really into the different metals used and the thicknesses and all that stuff. But really, I just buy it. I spend too much money on it. I play it. It usually doesn't sound the way I want it to sound, but it's good enough. And that's cymbals for you right there. Then we're going on to the main part of your kit, which is toms. This right here, this little guy is what people call a rack tom. They call it a rack tom because it sits in a rack. It's held up or suspended by some sort of stand or rack. It's smaller and it's really cool. You can do really awesome fills starting and ending with this tom right here. Coinciding with the rack tom, we have the floor tom. These behemoths are great for setting up transitions, closing out songs, and just really sounding like a monster. You just really lay down on these things in tandem with your kick drum, and it's just going to make some excellent sounds. Now with those, not pictured here, is, like I just mentioned, a kick drum. That's what you kick, you know, hence the name kick drum. But that one's a really nice, loud sounding drum, one of my favorite drums. And there's also what's called a snare drum, where, you know, when you're listening to music and you hear that pop and that crack, that's usually coming from a snare drum or some sort of synthetic version of a snare drum. And that kind of wraps it up with drums, but going back to the sticks, I forgot I had here, this guy right here. Every professional drummer has a stick bag, okay? This is just picked first because this is all they had at the local store. You know, it doesn't really matter to me. Could be ProMark, could be whatever. But, you know, simply put, you put some sticks in here. You put about 80,000 drum keys in here that you always lose. But they're in here, or not. You buy a bunch of drum keys, they come for free, and you can never keep them. But that's another point altogether. And, also, if you don't want to tune your toms, you know, you're not into that kind of thing, you can buy these things right here called moon gels. Now, they're just these little blue gels, and they come in different variations. This brand is just called Moon Gel. It's one of my favorites. And they're these little dangly, rubbery things. And you slap them on your drum like that. You know, you can put one, you can put two, you can put 3 or 4 of them on there. And it really kind of dampens it and takes out of that really bad tuning that you don't have the time to do. Just slap those bad boys on there, and it'll get your drum kit sounding like trash immediately, which is awesome. So that wraps up the equipment portion of this video. And now we're going to go on to some other lessons. Thanks for hanging out.